I thought surviving cancer would be the hardest part. I didn't know the real fight would start when I came home. The day my world cracked open wasn't inside a hospital. It was on a perfectly normal suburban sidewalk. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 69 years old. And 3 days after a double mastectomy, I came home to find my life dumped on the curb. Not in boxes. Not with care. Just spilled. A burgundy suitcase, the one my late husband Frank bought for our 30th anniversary trip to California, was lying on the concrete like it had been kicked out of a moving car. The zipper was broken. My clothes, my nightgowns, even my personal things, scattered across the grass like trash after a parade no one wanted. I couldn't even bend properly. Surgical tape pulled against my chest. Every breath burned. The pain meds had barely worn off, and I still felt like I was floating in hospital fog. The taxi driver hadn't even left yet. He looked at me in the mirror, unsure whether to help or disappear. Then I saw her. Brooke. My daughter-in-law. She stood in the doorway of my house. The house Frank and I spent 4 decades building, fixing, paying for, with her arms crossed like a security guard who'd decided I no longer belonged. Her voice wasn't loud. It was worse than that. Calm. Controlled. Cold. Evelyn. I'm sorry, but this is not a nursing home. I can't take care of you. Not a nursing home. I stared at her, trying to understand how the girl who once cried on my shoulder at her wedding could now look at me like an expired product. 3 days ago, surgeons cut into my body to save my life. 3 days ago, my son Jason promised everything would be okay. 3 days ago, I still believed family meant safety. Now my belongings were on the sidewalk, and the front door behind her was closed. My hands gripped the car door because my knees couldn't hold me up anymore. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But the only thing louder than my pain was the silence. And that silence was about to cost them more than they ever imagined. But what my 10-year-old grandson heard her say the night before changed everything. The worst betrayal isn't the one you see. It's the one you overhear when you weren't supposed to. I was still standing there on the driveway, barely able to stay upright, when the front door behind Brooke creaked open. Little footsteps. Soft. Careful. It was my grandson. Noah. 10 years old. Still in his dinosaur pajamas. Eyes red. Face pale. Dad, he whispered. Jason looked up like he'd just been pulled out of a nightmare. Noah, go back inside. Brooke snapped, already moving toward him. Too fast. Too sharp. But he didn't move. Instead, he looked straight at his father, and his voice broke. Dad, she planned this. Time froze. Brooke's hand froze midair. The air went heavy. What are you talking about, buddy? Jason asked softly, kneeling down. Noah swallowed hard. I heard her last night, on the phone with Aunt Rachel. He pointed at Brooke without even looking at her. She said this was the perfect time because Grandma would be too weak to fight it. Silence. A thick, choking silence. My chest tightened. Not just from the surgery, but from the weight of the truth. Brooke laughed, but it was fake. Too fast. He's confused, she snapped. He doesn't understand adult conversations. I do, Noah said quickly. You said once she came back from the hospital, Dad would have to choose. You said he wouldn't leave you if it meant losing us. Jason's hands dropped. Slowly he stood. You said that, he asked. Brooke's jaw tightened. Don't twist this, she shot back. I was venting. You weren't taking me seriously. You kept saying she'd recover and take over the house again. Take over the house. My house. The one I paid for. The one I bled inside. The one I nearly died for. Jason looked between his wife and his son. Then he looked at me. And for the first time in months, I saw guilt. Real guilt. The kind that hurts. But just when I thought he was about to say something, make a choice, take a side, he hesitated. Just for a second. And that second shattered my heart more than the surgery ever did. Because in that tiny moment, I realized he was actually thinking about letting me go. But what he didn't know is that Brooke had already made a move behind his back. One that could destroy them both. You think being thrown out hurts? Try finding out they almost erased your entire existence. Jason was still standing there, torn between the life he built and the woman who built him. And Brooke? She already thought she'd won. A slow smile crawled onto her face. Not relief, not love, but strategy. The kind people wear when they think the game is over. You want the truth? She said. I didn't just say those things because I was emotional. I said them because I had to. Jason frowned. Had to? What are you talking about? She exhaled, dramatic, calculated. I already spoke to a housing attorney. And a long-term care consultant. I was trying to protect our future. My stomach dropped. What future? He whispered. The one where we don't spend the next 10 years turning into her caretakers, she snapped, gesturing toward me like I wasn't even human anymore. You think hospitals are cheap? You think home nurses grow on trees? Jason looked sick now. I also spoke to a financial planner, she added. And that's when he looked up fast. What financial planner? She hesitated. Just a little too long. Mark Reynolds, she said. His face fell. No, you didn't. But she reached into her purse, calm, careful, and pulled out a folder. A folder I recognized. Because I'd seen that same folder once. In MY Bank office. She opened it. Loan papers. Financial projections. Retirement housing brochures. All with one quiet truth sliding through them like poison. She had applied for a loan in Jason's name. 6 figures. Brooke, he whispered. You didn't. She shrugged. I had to move fast. I was securing funds. For renovations, or if worst case, assisted living. Silence. Even the birds shut up. You used my name, he said slowly. You're my husband. And you signed me up for debt to get my mom out? She lifted her chin. If she moved to a facility, we could finally start fresh. New kitchen. New life. No more guilt. No more shadow. A shadow. After everything I gave him. After every meal. Every sacrifice. Every night I stayed awake when he was sick as a child. My own son looked like someone had punched the air out of him. You were ready to bury my mother alive financially before she even healed, he said. And Brooke didn't answer. Because she didn't need to. Her silence said enough. But what Jason found out next, about who really owned this house, turned the entire situation upside down. You don't really own a house, until someone tries to take it away from you. Jason stared at the loan papers like they were written in a foreign language. You put my name on this without telling me? He asked. Brooke folded her arms. You were stalling. Someone had to make decisions. You were blinded by guilt. He laughed once. Short. Hollow. And you were blinded by control. He stepped away from her, dragging his hand down his face, trying to breathe. I sat there on the curb, my chest aching, watching my son finally see what I had been living with for years. But Brooke wasn't done. She pointed toward the house like a judge finishing her sentence. It doesn't matter anyway. This house is falling apart. It's outdated. It's a burden. And legally, once you're gone or moved, it becomes ours to sell. A cold chill ran through me. Jason's head turned slowly. What do you mean becomes ours? She rolled her eyes. I mean exactly what I said. You live here. You're married. You have rights. After she's placed in care, we can restructure everything. Jason blinked. Brooke, he said carefully, my name isn't on this house. Her smirk faltered. Yes, it is. No, he replied. It never has been. Complete silence. He turned toward me. Mom, after Dad passed, his voice cracked. Did you ever change the deed? I swallowed. No, baby. Your father left it to me. Only me. I paid it off years before he died. Brooke stepped back like the ground dropped. What does that mean? She whispered. Jason straightened up. It meant something different now. It meant power. It means, he said slowly, we were never living in our house. We were living in her home. And you were just a guest. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. You tried to evict my mother from a house that doesn't even belong to me, he continued. You tried to remove the owner. Her face changed. Fear now. Not anger. Fear. And you put me in debt to do it. She shook her head. No, that's not what I. You didn't even bother checking the ownership, he cut in. You were so focused on pushing her out. You forgot whose door you were standing behind. I had been silent all this time. But inside, something steady woke up. And what Jason said next to her, in front of the neighbors, made her drop the act completely. Nothing humbles a person like the truth, especially when the whole neighborhood is watching. By now, the street wasn't quiet anymore. Curtains had shifted. Doors cracked open. People pretended to water plants that didn't need water. And Brooke? She noticed. She straightened her back, adjusting her posture like she was still in control. Jason didn't give her time. No more inside conversations, he said clearly. Not today. Her eyes darted around. Jason, this is private. No, what you did stopped being private when you put my mother on the sidewalk. His voice wasn't screaming, which somehow made it louder. You stood in the doorway of a house you don't own, and tried to throw out the person who does. Whispers started. Brooke swallowed. You're making this dramatic purposely to embarrass me. He almost laughed. You embarrassed yourself when you decided my mother was disposable. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You'd throw away our marriage for her? Jason tilted his head. You already tried throwing her away first. She froze. He turned so everyone could hear him now. This house belongs to my mother, he said firmly. She paid for it. She owns it. And every single thing inside of it is hers by right, not by sympathy. Mrs. Miller next door gasped quietly. Someone across the street shook their head. Brooke's face flushed red. So what, you're choosing her over me? Jason's jaw tightened. No, he said. I'm choosing right over wrong. The air felt heavy. For years, he continued, I let you convince me that my mother was a problem, that her grief, her illness, her presence was an inconvenience. He paused. And I let it happen, because it was easier than standing up to you. He looked at me then. Mom, you were never a burden. You were our foundation. My throat tightened. Then he faced her again. You can stay if you understand one thing. She clung to that word. Stay. You are not in charge here. Not again. Not ever. Her lip trembled. And if I can't live like that? She asked quietly. Jason inhaled slowly. Then you don't live here at all. Silence hit harder than shouting, because for the first time, she realized he meant it. But Brooke wasn't ready to lose without showing her real face. And what she did next shocked even Jason. You don't really know someone until they realize they're losing control. Jason's words hung in the air like a storm cloud. You don't live here at all. For a second, Brooke just stared at him. And then she laughed. Not a soft laugh. Not a sad laugh. A sharp, bitter, cracked sound that made even the neighbors step back. Oh, so this is it, she said. You finally grow a spine and use it on me? Jason didn't answer. That made her worse. Do you even hear yourself? She spat. I gave up promotions for you. I supported you when you were between jobs. I held this family together while you hid behind your mother. I flinched at the word. Hid. Jason blinked, stunned. That's how you see it, he asked. Yes, she snapped. You used her like a shield. Every hard conversation, every real decision, you ran back to Mommy's house instead of building your own life. Noah stepped closer to me again. His small fingers wrapped around mine. Stop yelling, he whispered. She noticed. And instead of softening, she snapped at him. Go inside. Jason stepped forward instantly. Don't talk to him like that. He's being dramatic just like her, she pointed at me. You've all been enabling each other. My heart dropped. Jason's jaw clenched hard. You're not doing this, he said. Not to them. She scoffed. What? Telling the truth. That's not truth, he said. That's you trying to justify cruelty. Her eyes filled, not with sadness, but rage. You think this is cruelty, she whispered. Cruelty is trapping me in your past. Cruelty is making me compete with a ghost. A ghost. I swallowed. Jason shook his head slowly. She wasn't a ghost, he said. She was my mother. And you tried to erase her while she was still breathing. For a second, a crack opened in her expression. Not anger. Not calculation. Fear. Because she realized something. She wasn't losing me. She was losing him. Completely. And she knew it. But just when she thought things couldn't get worse, Jason revealed one final decision that changed all their lives overnight. Sometimes the moment that breaks your family is the same moment that finally saves it. Brooke's hands were shaking now. Not from cold. Not from sadness. From the realization that the ground under her feet wasn't solid anymore. Jason looked past her, toward the house. The house that used to feel like home. The house now torn in two by truth. "I've been thinking," he said quietly. Her eyes narrowed. "That usually means something bad for me." He didn't deny it. "For once, I'm not thinking about what makes you comfortable. I'm thinking about what's right." The air felt electric. "I let you talk me out of too many things," he continued. "My boundaries. My instincts. My respect for the woman who raised me." He gestured toward me. "And I'm done pretending that was okay." My chest tightened. "So what?" she said bitterly. "Now you're playing hero?" He shook his head. "No. I'm playing husband and son for the first time in a long time." Then he took a step closer to her. "You don't get to decide who belongs in this family anymore." Her breath hitched. "You're choosing her," she whispered. "I'm choosing accountability," he replied. She scoffed again. "So what? You're kicking me out." He detained for a second. And in that moment, I saw him fighting something real inside himself. "No," he said slowly. "I'm giving you a choice because I didn't give my mother one." Her eyes flickered. "A choice between what?" He exhaled. "You go stay with your sister for a while. You sign up for family counseling. And you get individual therapy starting this week." She laughed hollow. "And if I say no?" His eyes didn't leave hers. "Then you walk away alone. Without the kids. Without this house. And without me." Her face collapsed. "You'd really keep my children from me?" "I'd protect them from this," he replied. "You don't get to traumatize them and call it honesty." Brooke looked at Noah. Then at Sophie standing in the doorway. Their little faces scared, confused, exhausted. And something shifted inside her. But not enough to decide yet. Because her ego and her fear were still fighting. And that battle was about to explode. And what Brooke did next, when she thought no one was watching, is the reason this story ends very differently than you expect. Most people expect revenge at the end of a story like this. But what happened instead was far more powerful. Brooke didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She didn't make a scene. She just left. Not dramatically. Not slamming the door. She grabbed her purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. Walked past us without a word, and drove away. No last speech. No threats. Just silence. And somehow, that was louder than everything else. The house felt strange without her energy filling the air. Jason helped me inside slowly, careful of the stitches, careful of my breathing. He placed me on the couch like I might shatter, like he finally understood how fragile and how strong I really was. "I'm so sorry, Mom," he whispered. "Not just for today, for every time I didn't see." I looked at him, then at my grandkids sitting on the floor, still wide-eyed. I reached for his hand and squeezed it. "You saw now," I said. "That's what matters." He swallowed hard. The next few days passed differently. Quieter. Not heavy, just honest. A week later, Brooke called. She didn't blame. She didn't fight. She cried. Real crying. Not for control. Not for power. She told him she had started therapy. She admitted she had been living in fear of becoming invisible. And turned that fear into cruelty instead. For the first time, she wasn't trying to win. They decided on space. Real space. Not punishments. Not ultimatums. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like something was being decided around me. Because something had changed. Not just them. Me. I stopped apologizing for existing. Stopped tiptoeing in a house I built with love. I started sitting back on my porch every evening. Watching the sunset spill across the lawn. No longer a ghost. No longer quiet. Just present. Just here. Some people think this story is about betrayal. But it isn't. It's about remembering that your life doesn't end just because someone tries to erase you. Sometimes. That's when it finally begins. Because the truth is, when someone tries to throw you out of your own life, that's when you finally learn how to step fully back into it.